Hi there, you may have heard the phrase behavioural safety observations. Let's try not to be facetious. If you have BSOs in your organisation and they work for you, if they deliver good results, if people are happy with them, if it's helping you reduce injuries and risk, well done. Crack on, carry on, and ignore everything I'm about to say. But what I'm about to say is based on my experience of delivering training at dozens of organisations, probably hundreds in reality if I counted them all. I've been delivering training on and off for 10 plus years in health and safety, and I've been at it pretty much full time since 2017. Needless to say, I've been all over the country, including in other countries. I've been all over Africa as well. And I have yet to meet a single frontline person, frontline manager, frontline team leader, not a single one who thinks behavioural safety observations are a good idea. They all seem to hate them. They all seem to think that the process undermines the credibility of health and safety. And by extension, it undermines the credibility of the professional who implemented the behavioural safety observation system. Damning words indeed. Now, if you don't know what a behavioural safety observation is, then it's a relatively new initiative that's been around in the last 20 years or so, where we get colleagues to observe each other working, and then we give the individual feedback on whether they were working safely or unsafely. And the idea, I mean, it's a good idea when you think about it. You're trying to encourage people to watch their colleagues. That's a good thing. And we're trying to encourage people to give feedback to their colleagues, to get a bit of a coaching culture. Again, wonderful thing. Coaching culture, all for that. So we're trying to get people to keep an eye out on each other, to help each other, to correct each other when they're wrong and so on. And the idea is that everyone's safety will improve because everyone will work more safely, because they'll feel that their colleagues are looking out for them, they'll be getting good advice and good suggestions from colleagues, and it just makes everyone more aware. That's the theory, and what a wonderful thing that would be if it worked most of the time. And most of the time, as far as I can tell, it doesn't. So here are some of the reasons why they don't really work and why they're a problem. Firstly, number one, they lead to inauthentic conversations. Inauthentic because the person is required through a procedure, through a target. They are required to have a conversation with somebody. So they're forced to. So they have this conversation not because they want to, but because they have to, and they get into trouble if they don't have one or two of these conversations, say, every single month. And so the whole thing feels forced, doesn't it? It reminds me of this, you know, there's this joke about how couples might make love on the first Saturday of the month. You know, it's like you don't want your lovemaking to feel forced, like it's in the diary. We've got to do it this month, at least once, you know? It doesn't feel romantic. It doesn't feel authentic. And so what you end up with are safety conversations that just feel forced. The person's heart is not in it. And if you feel that someone's giving you safety advice, not because they care about your safety, but because they have to, how does that make you feel? Does that make you feel like you're likely to take their advice on board? No, you're more likely to say, just bloody get on with it and just tell me what I did wrong, yeah? The second thing, which I don't like about these safety observations, is that they require people to spy. Yes, spy. Spy. You have to do them in secret. Now, some companies don't. Some companies say, no, you don't do it in secret. You stand there and you watch out in the open. You watch. Yes, but they don't work if you do it that way. You see, we know from science, observation ruins the result of the experiment very often. Because if someone's working and they know you're stood there watching them, you know that person's going to give you some feedback at the end, you're more likely to work safely. Now, of course, that's a good thing, you're working safely. But as soon as they turn their back, you'll just go back to doing what you were doing before. So the data collection that we get is all flawed. Third thing I don't like, let's talk about the data collection. The fact that these things are documented is something that is absolutely hated.
Right then, Baz. Right, I've got my red pen out because you've been naughty, but what I did notice is that when you picked up that box, you bent your back a little bit too far forward. Did you know that you could do yourself a really severe manual handling injury? Yeah, so today's date, it's 23rd of November, yeah, and it's 7:30 in the morning. Yeah, okay, brilliant. You won't do that again, will you, Baz?
I mean, just how patronising is it? Just making people fill in these little slips of paper and all of that. And again, you know, it's like going back to the lovemaking analogy, right? Would you really want to document it after? I mean, why would you document an authentic, heartfelt safety conversation? It just makes the whole thing seem legalistic and formal. And as soon as you make it legalistic and formal, you take all of the genuineness, you take all of the love out of it. You know, this is about culture. And you don't improve culture by making people fill in stupid bits of paper. Moving on to number 4, targets. There's a great law which I love. It's called Goodhart's Law. When a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. Now, there's an old saying that what gets measured gets managed. Frankly, I don't believe that at all. It's like trust. Like, can you manage trust? Can you manage a relationship? But can you measure it? Difficult. We're trying to measure these observations by filling in the stupid forms, and we count them, and we have trends and charts and statistics. But then we go further and we start to give people targets. You've got to do 2 a month, or we've got to get 70% positive and less than 30% negative, whatever target it is. Now, the problem with targets is that they then create an incentive for people to manipulate the process in order to achieve the target. So how many of these stupid little slips have been submitted which are frankly completely fake? Absolutely fake. Like the conversation never happened, or the whole thing's just been set up.
All right, Baz, we're sorted. Right, do you want to do me now? Yeah, right. Here we go, look. Oh, that really hurt. There you go, you can fill yours in now.
It's all a bunch of garbage. I had a company I worked for many years ago when I was a junior employee. They had a target that people had to report 2 near misses a month. And the result was they just reported lots of fake near misses. In fact, half of them weren't even near misses. Half of them were hazards. Pallet on floor. Like, it's not near miss, it's a hazard. Action, remove pallet, done. It's like they just filled in 2 lines, ticked the box, and they used to get 200 quid bonus a year. If you got 2 near misses a month, £200 at the end of the year. No wonder they got filled in.
Well, this is gonna go bad for both of you.
Yeah, that was the Christmas bonus. And that brings me on to the training. Like, a lot of organizations have given people limited training on how to do these observations. These observations require you to have some people skills, because you have to approach somebody and have a conversation about what they did well or what they didn't do well and how they could have done it better and so on. And you have to do that with some tact and some diplomacy, because otherwise you just rub the other person up the wrong way and they won't want to listen to you. And we often don't give people the skills, the verbal strategy, like the step-by-step. This is what you say, this is one thing you say next, this is how you say next. And a lot of people need those. The extroverts and the people with great people skills, they don't need it. It just comes naturally to them. But a lot of people just don't have those people skills. Which brings me on to the last point I'd like to make. Introverts bloody hate this. They absolutely hate this sort of thing. And then to pressure them into having these types of conversations does not make them feel comfortable at all. And then you give them a target that they have to hit. I mean, the introverts are the ones, in my opinion, I might be wrong here, but in my opinion, the introverted ones are the ones who are most likely to manipulate the system and just submit fake submissions, because they're just too uncomfortable doing it. So there we are, behavioural safety observations, wonderful intention, great idea, but in my experience, having delivered training in all kinds of industries, very difficult to get authentic, spontaneous, heartfelt coaching conversations. And using targets and writing them down is, in my view, just the wrong way of going about it. If you got any views on this, if you've tried them in your workplace and they work, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear a good news story on this. If you have any experiences yourself of how this system works, again, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear more about it. In the meantime, my friends, stay safe and burn those behavioural safety observations.